Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the underlying architecture of a competitor monitoring system, using this fantastic framework from the CAPTCHA AI blog. Our mission here is simple, but honestly, it's absolutely crucial. We are going to transform raw web scraping into a competitor dashboard that your team can actually trust. Because let's face it, a dashboard is literally only as good as the decisions it empowers. So we're going to break down exactly how to build one that doesn't fail you when the pressure's on. Let's kick things off with a scenario that, well, might sound a little too familiar. A founder asks a really simple question. Hey, did our competitor change their pricing? Suddenly, the growth team is frantically checking an old spreadsheet. The product manager is squinting at a screenshot from last month. Sales is bringing up something a prospect casually dropped in a call last week. Somebody finally just decides to open the competitor's page manually, while another person chimes in that the internal dashboard hasn't even updated in 5 days. So now, the team has a much bigger problem. Nobody knows which source is actually current. And that's the real issue with competitor analysis. Okay, let's dive into this. Because the hard part isn't just collecting the data. The real challenge is building an operational workflow that teams can definitively trust when million-dollar decisions are on the line. Just having a dashboard absolutely does not equal having a reliable workflow. It's just a visualization tool. Think about it. Pricing, packaging, feature launches, campaign planning, they all depend on competitor intelligence. If your underlying data is stale, incomplete, or poorly monitored, your team might be making highly confident decisions based on entirely unreliable information. Basically, if the background process fails silently, you're just looking at a pretty interface full of lies.
To solve this, we're going to take a structured journey through the CAPTCHA AI source material today. We'll hit 5 key areas: the trust factor, pipeline architecture, overcoming bots, troubleshooting, and finally, putting data to work.
So, kicking things off with Section 1, the trust factor. And that leads us directly into Section 2, pipeline architecture. Let's look at how this builds. To prevent the exact chaos we just talked about, the source material outlines 3 main phases of a rock-solid pipeline. Step 1 is your data models and the competitor scraper. This is where you figure out exactly what you're looking for and deploy scripts to go extract it from the web. Then, Step 2 is the CAPTCHA solver. Because, whenever you're using automation at scale, you're going to hit roadblocks, period. Finally, Step 3 is the main runner and report generator. Think of this as the engine that orchestrates the whole operation on a strict schedule and spits out the clean, structured reports your team will actually want to read. Which brings us right to Section 3, overcoming bots. And this brilliantly illustrates the inevitable roadblock. The very moment your automated scraper hits a fast-moving, highly protected competitor pricing page, it's going to hit a wall, usually a CAPTCHA. If you don't have a solid plan for this, your whole dashboard just goes stale overnight. The fix here isn't just trying to scrape it again. The CAPTCHA AI guide explicitly notes you need to add strategic delays and utilize session cookies. This mimics human behavior and unlocks access. But a quick aside here, before you even build this automation, you absolutely have to confirm whether the source can be monitored in the first place. You got to review source permissions, check the terms of service, and respect compliance boundaries. Whenever possible, prefer permitted sources or approved APIs to make sure your data collection is actually sustainable.
Pivoting now to Section 4, troubleshooting common failures.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how mechanical things get. Because a polished report is completely useless if the workflow is quietly failing in the background. Look at these mechanical breaks. If prices are suddenly missing, it's almost always a selector mismatch because a competitor simply tweaked their website layout. The fix? A human actually needs to inspect the HTML and update those selectors. Or what if you're missing historical data? Well, that's usually resolved by running the system daily to actually build up reliable trend visibility. This is exactly why assigning ownership is a total game changer. Who owns the source configuration? Who's reviewing these field jobs? Without clear ownership, the dashboard becomes everyone's tool, but nobody's responsibility. But honestly, the biggest trap of all is data freshness. If the team doesn't know when the data was last updated successfully, their trust in the system drops to 0, instantly. A super common problem is the exact same stale entry just getting reinserted into the report over and over. The source material recommends a really specific fix for this, setting strict freshness rules by using a query that only pulls the absolute latest maximum date. This guarantees your teams are only seeing validated current updates. Because remember, stale data should never, ever look like current data. All right, finally, we reach Section 5, putting data to work. Now that we've got a reliable pipeline, we have to take a step back and ask, What decision will this dashboard actually support? Is it pricing, packaging, your product roadmap, maybe sales enablement? Please do not track everything just because it happens to be visible on a competitor's website. If there's no real business decision attached to the data you're scraping, that beautiful dashboard is quickly just going to turn into background noise. You've got to start with the metrics that can actually change your strategy.
So drawing from the CAPTCHA AI FAQ, here's how we actually put this data to work. First up, visualize your trends. A single snapshot just shows what's visible today, right? But history shows direction. Are they testing prices, expanding features? You can easily export your SQLite data to Matplotlib or just pipe it straight into Google Sheets. Second, make sure to track non-pricing metrics, things like catalog sizes or feature lists, so you can see if competitors are quietly expanding. And third, set up automated alerts for pricing shifts.
So the crucial point is how you handle those automated alerts. The system should be comparing today's scraped prices with yesterday's stored values and then firing off an alert when the difference exceeds a certain threshold. But, and this is a big but, a major price change alert should absolutely not automatically trigger a massive strategy meeting. Think about it. Did they actually change pricing, or did the page layout just shift and the scraper grabbed the wrong text? Human validation is 100% required before you act on any major shift. Validate the data first, then act. The source material leaves us with this powerful core mandate: track competitors at scale. When you combine properly configured data models, CAPTCHA solving to guarantee access, rigorous troubleshooting to catch silent failures, and a strict rule of only tracking metrics that drive decisions, that's when you unlock reliable scale. You finally stop checking random spreadsheets and old screenshots, and you start making actual data-backed decisions. I want to leave you with this final thought. Take a hard look at your own monitoring workflows today. Ask yourself, what changed? Can the team actually trust the change? Who needs to act on it? Is your competitor dashboard a reliable decision system, or is it really just noisy data? Auditing your workflow for true trustworthiness and establishing clear ownership is literally the only way competitor monitoring becomes a strategic advantage. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.